Hello everybody, and welcome to my ultimate manifestation mini course that I'm doing here. This is the emotional component, and I'm just having a bit of a giggle here because I sat here for 10 minutes recording what I was meant to be recording, and I wasn't recording at all. And well, that's life, and it turned out pretty good, that video. Now I have to do it again, but hey, what do you know? Maybe that's why it went so well, because I wasn't recording. It's all up here, you know. But anyway, I got to get into the emotional side of things now. And for me, I've put this up the top for a reason. It's because we really have to understand emotional mastery and being the master, my nose is itchy, of our emotional state to manifest what we desire into the world. Now, Neville Goddard did actually speak about emotional mastery and the importance of having control of your beliefs and your emotions and therefore behaviors. And I know this is personal development stuff, and a lot of people don't want to know about it. They don't want to do the work on themselves. They don't want to know. They just want the 10 grand in the bank. But the problem with the 10 grand in the bank and focusing on just that is the money in the bank is secondary. It is not primary. You are the person that manifests you. Everything comes from within you and is projected to the outside world. The work has to be done within because everything comes from within. This is the primary focus, not the money. The money comes as a secondary. You could see it as a consequence of becoming the master of your emotional state. So, I will get into why this is so important. It's really important to have a regulated nervous system if you are living in survival mode. Now, in survival mode, where do you think your mind is? When you're living in survival mode, that's fight, flight, or freeze, okay? You're living in survival mode. Your mind is focused on protection and safety, keeping you safe and protected, watching out, listening out for threats. That's what your mind is focused on. It is not focused on manifesting harmoniously. It is not focused on surrender and relaxation. That's where manifestation occurs, in the surrender. Your mind is focused on keeping you safe and secure, and you are in that state. Okay, you are in the survival state 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You don't come out of it. Your nervous system and your subconscious is switched into that state on high alert at all times, ready to pounce, ready to run, ready to tackle the next threat. I know I lived in that state for most of my life. And I had no idea. I had no idea that that's what was going on. I thought my fast-moving body was a skill. I had no idea that this is a skill. I'm really good at this. Of course I'm really good at it. You know, I'm really good at listening for contradictions. I'm really good at listening for threats. I'm really good at picking up on people's tone of voice. Yes, I am. I learnt how to do that. When I was a child, I used to come home from high school or primary school, and I used to tiptoe up to the front door, listen out for about a minute to hear any threats, to hear if anybody was fighting or, you know, any kind of horrible thing was going on. And I'd do that and I'd listen out, and I was on high alert. And then I'd open the door quietly. I'd quietly walk to my room, quietly close the door, sit on my bed and just, thank goodness for that. And that was every single day. I learnt how to be on high alert. I learnt how to listen for the threats. I learnt what a word meant, even though, you know, it didn't actually mean that. It was, you know, putting all this meaning into things. So we are living in survival mode 24 hours a day, ready to pounce, ready to run from the threat that is not even there anymore. Okay, you may have left that situation. You're now in a safe place. You live by yourself. You don't have all these threats going on. Or maybe there can be there are a lot of reasons why people can be in an unsafe place at the moment. But you've left this state, right? But your mind is still working in that way. So its focus is survival. Its focus is listening out for the threats. Its focus is for your safety. And that's what's occurring. So you are not going to be able to emotionally regulate yourself in terms of the feeling what you need to, because the feeling is dominant. That survival mode is dominant. Your safety in survival is dominant. Now, do you have to get out of the unsafe place to start regulating your nervous system? No. I am a very clear example of a person who has been in unsafe places and regulating my nervous system. It is what actually empowers you. And I've come across a lot of other people who've done the same thing. And they've started working on their nervous system, working on the way that they perceive things, their belief systems, how they react to things, and changing that, disrupting that behavior and changing it. And it's empowered them to leave the unsafe place, okay? So you can start working on your nervous system even if you believe or that you know that you're in an unsafe place. Maybe you work in a particular area and there's a very narcissistic person there. That's easily worked on. Maybe you're in an abusive relationship. That's a lot harder because it's a very emotionally driven state, but you can still do it. I've come across people who have done that. So do not ever think that you have to remove yourself, because when you do that, when you have that belief that you have to remove yourself first, it's like saying to yourself, the same as the rest of it, I need this first before I can do that. I need money in the bank before I can make that happen. You're putting things off all the time. You can begin anywhere in any state. And the thing is, it's when we're in these unsafe places, or we don't feel good about ourselves, or we've got a huge amount of problems, that's when somehow this awareness within us kicks in, and we start to notice things, and we start to become more aware of what we don't want in our life. It kind of triggers the change. So begin working on your nervous system, and there are plenty of ways that you can begin doing that. How I started working on my nervous system. I had no idea about the nervous system back then, but I started working on my nervous system simply by questioning myself. Why am I doing this? Why am I reacting this way? I don't enjoy this, so why do I do this? Becoming aware in that way. A lot of people, they start asking themselves the questions, and that's as far as they go, because they don't know how to go any further. But this is what I did. After that, after I started asking myself the questions, I would go, all right, how do I react differently next time? How do I change the outcome? What do I do differently? Because I don't want to do that anymore. There's a lot of shame to the way that you end up behaving sometimes. I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to react that way. All right, so I'm going to disrupt that behavior and choose differently. Now, on my website, there is a free booklet to download. It's called Rewire. That little booklet has this exercise in it that you can use to disrupt the patterns of behavior and thought and emotion, and do change the outcome. So I started doing that. I also started practicing being present in my life, and mindfulness, because at that time a lot of this was around mindfulness, being present. And so I started doing this, going for long walks in nature, freeing my mind, because it's when you're actually doing something physically like walking and you're focusing on the movement of your body that your mind will kind of free itself. And you can instead notice other things, if that's what you have to do at the beginning. Notice the breeze on your skin. Notice the wind rustling the leaves of the trees. Noticing the birds and the sounds of the birds. Noticing, a car has just, gone past. And really just focusing in on what your body is doing instead of having too many thoughts. That really helped me. Doing Qigong, that really helped me. And these things, not only are we really looking at our behaviors and disrupting the pattern, because we really want to disrupt the pattern. We're really looking at regulating our emotional state, bringing it back into balance. And so things like going for long walks in nature, not only is that getting energy into our body, but it's expanding our energy. Qigong, another thing that really helped me, bringing energy into the body and also expansion of energy. Really regulating your movement with your breath, and also learning to slow down as well, because when you're in survival mode, fight or flight, for example, you want to move fast. And that is not your normal state of being. Your normal state of being is in surrender and relaxation, no matter what you're doing, okay? Something else I started doing, and I found this out by accident. I was at work, and I had to do things really slowly because we had no equipment, and I still had to be seen doing stuff. Like, how do you do that? Well, I used to get something. Here's a pen. All right, and I'm going to do it very quickly, but you can do this really slowly, and you slow this down to as slow as you can do it. And you move the pen from this point to this point over here, but you do it as slow as you possibly can. And when you do that, what happens to your breath? What happens to your body? And at first I freaked out, and you might freak out too, because I was not used to going that slow and just fully sinking into my body. And this is a really good exercise as well for learning how to fully sink into your body and fully relax into it, because everything slows down. It's like you instantly go into this boom, you know. And it was amazing what that actually did. That was the exercise I found accidentally at work. That was the exercise that changed everything and permanently allowed me to slow everything down. Another aspect of fight or flight, of course, is freeze mode. And I've come across people in freeze mode. They have really the self-worth is very lacking of self-worth is very evident, and they fully sink into life, but not in the positive way, in the worthlessness way. They have no energy, no self-worth. They're always, oh, I can't be bothered. It's not that they're lazy. This is their survival mode. So they have to get energy into their body. Whereas, you know, me being fight or flight, I had to slow down. So I had to use things to slow down. Whereas if you're in freeze mode, you have to use things to bring energy into the body, because you have no energy. You have no energy to do anything. So these things also can be useful for that. And you have to think about what you're eating as well. That is of high importance. A person who doesn't feel worthy of themselves will go and eat food that is unworthy of them as well. The thoughts that you are having in your mind about yourself, if you are repeatedly having negative thoughts all the time, this is going to affect how you feel about yourself, therefore what you eat, therefore how you treat yourself, etc., etc. But this is why you have to start working and regulating your nervous system. Is because that's what I said in the beginning. Your mind is focused on survival. It is not focused on manifesting what you desire. Your mind is focused on fleeing. It is not focused on surrender. And what your mind is doing, your body is also doing. So that's why your mind is in fight or flight or freeze, and so is your body. So this is why we have to begin working on our nervous system. You cannot bring into the world or create what you desire when you're in survival mode. It's going to be a lot harder, and it's going to be a huge amount of resistance. There's no point. There's no point. Life itself is effortless. It is effortless. And it's only in resistance that we have within, the resistance that we have within, that creates the effort, that creates the problem. And that is why we have to do the work. That is why we have to do the self-development stuff. Neville Goddard stated it. Don't believe me, ask Neville. Right? Emotional mastery is important, highly important. It is key. We have to go there, we have to do it. And there are plenty of people on the internet, by the way, that will teach you nervous system regulation. And I will put a book down below that I've read that was really good, very simplified, a very good person a person that explained it very clearly anyway. I'll put that down there. And I'm going to leave this here because this has gone for 15 minutes. And this is about nervous system regulation, getting out of survival mode and the importance of it. Next video is also going to be about the emotional state, but feeling it and the importance of the subconscious mind in your programming, because it's all one and the same. I'll see you next time. Bye for now.